Yes, hello and good morning, evening or afternoon, depending on when you are streaming this, the latest episode of Edie's Susty Talk, our series of video interviews designed to keep you all feeling a little bit more connected to sustainability leadership during lockdown and beyond. I'm really grateful to have a guest from New York on, from a different time zone, and for sparing some time in her morning. And that is the Head of Sustainability for Zoetis, Jeannette Ferran Astorga. So thank you so much for your time this morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sarah. Thank you. I'm really excited to be part of Susty Talks.
And excited to have you on. And I think it's your first interview with us, at least in the time that I've been here, right?
It is. I'm excited to be part of your platform.
Great. So for the benefit of myself and for everyone listening, it would be great to hear a little bit more about your role and remit. And I know that you joined this role last year, I think.
That's right. So I'll start off with sharing a little bit about Zoetis, and then we'll share more about my role. But first and foremost, Zoetis's purpose really is to nurture the world and humankind by advancing care for animals. And we're a Fortune 500 company. We're actually a global animal health company and the market leader of discovering, developing, manufacturing, and selling vaccines, medicines, and diagnostic products, all which are in service to veterinarians and farmers and pet owners as they raise and care for animals. And across Zoetis, we have this firm belief that healthy animals ultimately help us all create a healthier, more sustainable future. Our innovative portfolio covers 8 species, which includes horses, cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, fish, and of course, our beloved cats and dogs. So in other words, if you have a cat or dog in your home or you consume animal protein in your meals, you've likely benefited from Zoetis products. And as the company's first head of sustainability, I lead the comprehensive strategy and its global execution, in addition to the tracking and reporting of our progress to our ambitious goals. I spend time advising our leadership on ESG and sustainability while also working cross-functionally to engage and mobilize support from our over 11,000 colleagues across the globe to work together to achieve our long-term goals. We've established core cross-functional teams across Zoetis, which helps us partner with our business units and integrate sustainability in their day-to-day. And I came to Zoetis, as you mentioned, last year, after I had a pretty long career in corporate responsibility, philanthropy, and sustainability, with specifically 15 years focused on developing and implementing global programs for public companies in the fashion and retail sector. I like to think that I, in 2020, made a pretty big pivot when you think about going from fashion to farming and felines. But I joined the organization because I was incredibly inspired by the leadership's commitment to sustainability, which, I had noticed had existed for quite some time. And they were operating with sustainability in mind and were looking to bring on a leader to kind of help formalize the commitment to sustainability and launch its strategy. I'm just over 6 months into my new role and enjoying every day.
Fantastic. And you mentioned you're the first head of sustainability, but I'm presuming with that staff base, there are other members of your team as well, right?
Well, so we work cross-functionally, and I like to think of it as, a model where we've established a number of core cross-functional teams across the organization, where we're working in very close coordination and partnership to help advance our goals. So what excited me about the opportunity was that we're building the function and the team as we go, but importantly, very thoughtfully engaging with our key colleagues and business units to drive the sustainability strategy together. I've learned from my experience that it's important not to create these functions in a siloed capacity. You want to create that, again, cross-functional integration, and that's the model that we're following at Zoetis.
Got it. That makes complete sense. And obviously we're talking just after you mentioned strategy, and the long-term sustainability strategy Driven to Care has just come out, which is why I was prompted to call you. And I thought it was interesting that it's sort of SDG based, and I wanted to talk about why that is appropriate for a business in this sector, but also of the size. I know the company is present in, I think I have 45 countries written down. So yeah, lots to do.
That's exactly right, Sarah. You know, with a direct presence in 45 countries, our products being sold in over 100, Zoetis has a global reach, and we know we have the capabilities to champion a healthier, more sustainable future. And you know, through our Driven to Care strategy, which is our newly formalized sustainability platform, we've aligned our long-term goals directly to 10 of the SDGs. To date, we've been the only standalone animal health company to do so. And, you know, we firmly believe that achieving the SDGs requires the private sector and industry leaders to take a stand and set measurable commitments to align with driving, you know, global efforts for sustainable development.
Fantastic. And I'm sure there'll be people that are listening that are either developing an SDG aligned strategy or have one and are trying to fine tune it. So I was hoping to get some learnings from that process from you. Absolutely.
Well, so the place to start is really looking at the areas where you see natural alignment with your company's, you know, key priority sustainability issues and where you see opportunity to maximize impact. So at Zoetis, before we announced Driven to Care, we outlined the 3 areas of focus for our sustainability strategy, which our 3 pillars are centered around communities, animals, and the planet. And as we looked across the SDGs, you know, we saw we had an incredible opportunity to align specifically with 10 of the SDGs. Of course, we support the broader UN SDG agenda, but we again honed in on the ones where we really felt we had the most alignment with our operations and our strategy. The majority of our goals actually align with the ambitions around eradicating poverty, zero hunger, as well as good health and well-being. A couple of learnings, well, and even examples of how we've been able to make those connections and align our work with the SDGs. You know, I'll give 2 examples in particular. The first being around COVID-19 and our COVID-19 vaccine. So when you think about it, you know, 75% of emerging infectious diseases have an animal origin, and that includes COVID-19. So there is an important connection when you think about animal health and human health. And I think, you know, we've seen that more than ever before, you know, throughout the pandemic. So supporting our commitment to innovation in animal health, the San Diego Zoo actually gave our experimental COVID vaccine to several of its great apes after a troop of the zoo's gorillas tested positive for the virus. That action alone demonstrated, again, our commitment around innovation in animal health, but it underscored how the work of our CTED initiative, our Center for Transboundary and Emerging Diseases, directly supports good health and well-being, as well as life on land, which are important UN SDGs. Another great example of how we've uncovered the alignment, you know, is centered around our Project Alpha. So we've been working for some time now to expand veterinary care in underserved areas, and we're going on our 5th year of partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on our Project Alpha. And the work that we do through Project Alpha helps improve livestock health and as well as positively impact farmer livelihoods in sub-Saharan Africa, with a particular focus on female empowerment. So we've been committed to training at least 100,000 farmers, vets, and lab technicians by 2025. And we're also seeing how that work directly aligns with SDGs centered around poverty, eradicating hunger, but also it aligns to gender equity, as well as the value of partnering in support of the goals, and of course, you know, good health and well-being. So again, it's figuring out those areas between like your strengths, your strategies, and how they align to, you know, the broader agenda around global development. I think an important learning that I would share with your audience as well is when you're going to align your strategy to your SDGs, it's critical to, you know, drive the accountability and use reporting as a way to really, you know, develop, you know, your report on your progress. And so we have, you know, embedded this as part of our work. We will be releasing our first sustainability report with our ESG metrics towards the end of this quarter, where we'll be, you know, sharing with our stakeholders, you know, how we're progressing on our journey in our 5 and 10 year targets, and again, continuing to support the SDGs.
Great, I'm sure that will be super useful to a lot of people listening. And you've talked about some of the goals They're so specific projects there relating to empowerment across the supply chain and then on innovation as well. But there are also some on what I think most people will usually think of when they think of sustainability, which is protecting the planet. So there's goals there about 100% renewable electricity and redesigning packaging as well. So I wanted to ask, so across that whole scope, which goals you think will be, you've mentioned playing to your strengths, but obviously some of this is going to be challenging to deliver. So I'd like to ask about that. Yeah,
of course. You know, there are always challenges that will come along with introducing a large scale initiative like Driven to Care across our global markets. But I would say we are fortunate enough to have extremely talented and engaged colleagues who are going to make this a success, and they are just as committed to sustainability as I am. So I would say, effective internal communication and coordination is almost as equally important as all of your external messaging and public reporting that because you have to gain that buy-in and alignment internally. So to your point, we've got our teams mobilized around our 100% renewable energy goal and our ambitious initiatives to drive more sustainability in packaging. But all of that is done with incredible cross-functional coordination and mobilization and finding ways to integrate those new goals into the day-to-day operations. So I would say to your audience, the business community should not be put off from sustainability because it could appear to be logistically challenging to execute. At the end of the day, if you're finding it unwieldy to implement sustainability across your business model, across various markets, time zones, it's probably a sign you're doing it well and you're actually making meaningful progress, because it is hard work and requires a lot of coordination from your colleagues. But again, every goal has its own level of complexity, whether you're talking about packaging or energy or community investment. But when you've got the right colleagues engaged and at the table, that's the winning formula.
Great, that makes sense. Often we see, something we see a lot, for example, is a company with multinational presence can set a renewable electricity target, and then the market can be really mature in like the UK here and the US for you, but then they also have operations in Japan, for example, so they might need a more context-specific approach. And you've mentioned the importance of colleague buy-in to driving that and identifying that too.
That's exactly right. One of our aspirations is to, by the end of the year, formalize Protect Our Planet teams across all of our key sites. And again, as the example of cross-functional coordination, we know, great ideas come from everywhere. And so we want to formalize how we're engaging our colleagues specifically around our Protect Our Planet initiatives, because we know there's also local context to be considered. So we're excited to share more as we outline that throughout the year.
Great. Well, I'll keep an eye out for the report and for that. But for now, that's all I have time for. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. And it was great to